So my name's Paige, and we're back with another episode of A Student's Perspective. And today I'm here with Priscilla Koukoui. And I guess I'd love for you to just start introducing yourself and just say a little bit about your background and the company you own.
So, hi, Paige. My name is Priscilla Koukoui. Thanks for having me today. I'm really excited to be with you and share a bit about more about what I do or what I've done previously. So, a bit of my background because it's really student oriented. I will start with what I study. So, I've been to university. We call them back in France, where I grew up, a business school. So I went to a business school called Schema, and I have a master's degree in management. My major was in corporate finance and information systems. And I also study in two other university on MBAs, one in AIT, Asian Institute of Technology based in Bangkok, and another one in IIFT, the Indian Institute of Foreign Trade, based in Delhi, where I major in international marketing, management of change. So a bit broader, just to broaden my on different topics and subjects. And I'm also a certified UX designer.
Nice.
So this is for what I study. And then for work, I've been working as a management consultant most of my life. We can see three different parts. So I have about 16 years of experience, and I've been working on a large area of companies in various parts of the world. But we can say that I worked mainly one as an international consultant, two really focused on project management, program management, PMO management, and three, ensuring and driving innovation for corporates, which is what I've been doing for the past maybe 7 years. And I'm especially really interested in how we can drive change using emerging technology, and more specifically, my bit of specialty is the immersive space, so augmented reality and virtual reality.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's what I'm so excited to even hear a little bit more about because we touch on it in school, but never talk about how it affects other regions outside of architecture as well. But most importantly, I want to hear that aspect and how it's introduced. But I think the best part about this interview is that it never would have happened if it weren't for the opportunity of quarantine and actually being able to be in two different countries right now and still be able to have this conversation. So it's hitting dinner time close to me here, and she's just waking up. So that's a little bit of a backwards flip, but it's a great opportunity that we were able to actually have this conversation.
Yeah. Yeah, so just waking up, it's 9 in the morning here in Australia. So 7 was yoga, and 8 I had breakfast. And and I'm happy to be with you now, knowing that you're still in the past,
Yeah.
Saturday evening. So yeah, look forward to the future.
So I think that's a good place to start. How would you begin to define being a futurist? Or what does that mean to you specifically?
Yeah, so you can look at life three different ways. You can decide, or your mind would always look back at the past. And some people do that and tend to always go back. And I mean, we tend to do three of them, like having a look at the future, having a look at the past, and trying to stay in the present moment. But some people have more a highway going back to the past and comparing their present to what they could have done in the past. Some people are really wise and try to really stay in present, and some other, like me, really look forward to the future and tend or try to predict what would happen with what we currently have. I think that being a futurist is having that vision on the various trends that can happen in the future.
Now, is that something you've always kind of considered of yourself, or at an early age did you realize those things, or was there somewhere along the path that that started to click for you?
I'm not too sure. I've always been just interested in, I've always been really curious and always wanted to understand how things works for a bit of everything. How does that work? How does that work? Who wanted to always go overseas to understand how people work, how people are, culturally, how we can work better together, what can we do together, how do they think? So just broadly interested in understanding the world and understanding others. Uh, and in my career, I always been looking to learn more and more and more. And the best way for me to always learn is just to be at the edge of innovation because there's always something new arriving. So I'm not sure exactly if I've always been just interested in the future, but I can tell that it's a great fit for me because it really allows me to always learn on what will be happening.
Yeah, that's amazing. And you've had the opportunity to travel a pretty good handful. How has that affected the way that you think now? And like you said before, like seeing the world and being able to understand not only different perspectives, but different cultures and varieties, just like that.
Yeah. So I live in more than 10 different countries, mainly in Asia. I have a strong French accent. It's
Mhm.
part of my identity. It's important for me, I guess, to keep it. So while I'm a French Australian and I live in Australia now, I still have a really pretty strong French accent. But that said, I lived most of my adult life back in Asia, in Southeast Asia. And I just been, I just grew up in a really multicultural environment. My best friend while growing up was American. And I've just always had friends coming from all over the place. And I was just really curious to go and discover the world. And when you're young, and even when you're not, if you feel that you want to discover something different and want to understand others better, sometimes it's good to just go, at least for a few months, and see the world differently. Not to stay just in your oyster, but really wanted to broaden your perspective. Life is so wide, and you had that saying that you only what is exactly the saying?
Only live
You only live, the world is a book, and if you stay in the same country, you can only read one page. So if you want to just read the full book, you need to just go out there and confront yourself to what is life for you, and what it is for someone else living in Asia, living in Africa. Sometimes it's just moving states. When your country is as big as Australia, you can already see differences. And I guess in the US it's the same. Sometimes you will just move from uh, one state to another, and you will realize how different it could be. It could be even just a neighborhood. You know, it could be just the next neighborhood, and people would already think differently and have complete different life. And I think it's important to build that empathy to understand others. So yeah, so I definitely advise anyone to just go, go discover the world, and come back definitely richer. Or don't come back, just stay. You know, if you feel comfortable somewhere else, you can just go and stay.
empathy is a good term. I like that.
Yeah.
You should just be able to understand other people. So, what has your life changed in terms of the global pandemic and how you've had to kind of rearrange? I know there's a lot of conversation that we could have about that, especially in terms of VR and how that can start to overlay as well in the future. But how specifically have you been altered by it so far?
So I'm a positive person.
Yeah.
So I I will maybe give another perspective on what we are hearing a lot on media. What I can see with the pandemics and with people staying more at home is that families get reunited. So as a family, you get a chance to spend much more time with your children, to know them better, which is a great opportunity to grow together as a family and not only seeing each other a few hours of the day every day. So I think it's a great opportunity to learn from each other and from the parents and children relationships. Two, it's a great opportunity to do sports, even indoor sports. Several of my friends have never been so fit in their life. So I think that we are often hearing the side of how it's having a bad. And I don't say that some people are suffering and struggling and are alone. And I'm not belittling their experience, but I just want to highlight that it could also be seen as a great opportunities. Some companies are doing great, are doing, it's much more difficult for some people, and for some others, it has just been a great opportunity in the virtual world. Definitely more and more people are working remotely, so start to understand how it could be uh, convenient to use just virtual environment to work more together and to collaborate remotely from different locations. So it's a great, I think, opportunity for anyone within the immersive environment, not only for workers, but also for entertainment, when now we have virtual concerts, virtual meetings of various ways in different environments, or completely recreated virtual worlds. So I think that it's good to stay in touch with what will happen in that space. Personally, for my company, so I'm the founder of a company called OviSquare, and OviSquare, and it has been, I think that we have much more requests, much more, we can see much more interest in virtual reality. Most companies still struggle to understand how those virtual worlds could really assist them. So from retail, because nowadays people are less and less going outside to buy, and they tend to buy online. So how could they translate? So most companies already have a website, but if you want to transform the experience, how could you do that in a virtual environment, or how could you show or present your product in a different way? Same if you're in an art gallery, how could you show your work differently to your audience?
Patience d'entrée de jeu, la stratégie de monsieur. Pleure pas s'il répond pas. Ça viendra, le méchant loup te mangera. Il te tient en haleine, comme des dizaines d'humaines. Te donne un rendez-vous et ne vient pas du tout. T'en fais pas, le méchant loup te mangera. Oh, 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 il t'aura. Au détour du bois. Oh, il t'aura.
Yes. So there's a few different thematics, and we tend to have lots of requests even for virtual events. So yeah, it's a good space to be at the moment.
Great. Yes. Yes. So correct me if I'm wrong, but virtual reality, I mean, it's especially helpful too within changing environments. And I think that's why within the pandemic now, too, being able to offer that ability to represent those changes that need to be made so abruptly that are hard for people to imagine. That's why it is so crucial right now.
Yeah. So there's a virtual reality where we need to actually wear a headset
Right.
to go completely in a different world.
Mhm.
But then we can just create 3D environments that are accessible from any type of platform, including just going on a web browser, and you're on that virtual environment. And yeah, there's a bit of a difference on how we can create those words. So I just yeah, makes a difference. So, and sorry, your question was about?
I guess I didn't necessarily have a recap question on that, but I am curious to learn a little bit more about OviSquare and just the different varieties because I'm foreign entirely to the different types of virtual realities.
Yeah. So at OviSquare, we have two sides. We have a really corporate focus side, really business focus, where we assist corporates in using the immersive space to add value to their business. And we have a second side where we work for entertainment, where we are really interested in creating multisensory experiences. And by multisensory, I mean using, like you would in virtual reality experience, using the visual and using the audio to listen, but also adding smell. So olfactory sense and olfactory design is big for us, and we are working on a new experience where we use taste in immersive experience. Yeah, it's fascinating space. When we start thinking about realities, we have five senses, and if we really want to engage, I think that it's great to start considering smell, which is one of the strongest sense in the human body. it really engaged. Yeah, so we are exploring those side, and on the corporate side, we are mainly working for AEC, so architecture, engineering, and construction, to build a solution for business.
Yeah, so I mean, I'm excited to hear about that. What are the type of companies that you would work with in terms of architecture? And can you give me like an example of probably your favorite projects?
A favorite. So what is there's different ways of building an experience in virtual reality or in augmented reality. So with augmented reality, you could just use your phone to just augment the physical world, which is the world around us, with a digital element. And that element can be just a picture or a video or anything. And with virtual reality, we are completely in a different world. Or you have a multi-platform experience that you can access that virtual environment from your laptop and, for example, from a tablet, and so on and so forth, from to find yourself with others in the same virtual environment. What's happening in as you can guess for architecture, whenever we decide to create a new space, the clients wants to see it and understand it, right? They want to have that visual element to understand how it would be before it's made. Um, and and it's great to be able to show what it could be, but also to just move inside that environment. So to see it not only from one angle, but from various different angles, to really understand how it would be. And what is great in a virtual environment is that it's not a real environment, so you can change the color, you can change the size, and you can react on a really maybe not in real time, but you can in real time, but you can just make some adjustment on what your client is expected really quickly. And what's happening now more and more is that not only you have the visual environment, but you can add plenty of other information inside your environment. Meaning that if you're building a room which is 5 meters by 5 meters, you can extend it by 2 meters really quickly in the virtual environment. And for when different persons work at the same time inside this environment, they can collaborate. So they can draw, or they can just add some elements that would assist them to build. And it's more and more where we are going when we tend to reproduce a physical world in digital, and we call them digital twin.
Nice comparison. One of my favorite words that I had seen on your site too is storytelling. And that's a good way of describing a lot of what we try to handle in terms of architecture schooling, especially, is being able to grasp every single point of not only your concept, but the ultimate feeling of the interior of a space, the outside of a space, and what it feels like to enter that space. And so, like you said, the ability to change things so quickly in the renderings, and within virtual reality, that's such an advantage for us in terms of the scale and time that it takes to make those small adjustments, and being able to show it to the person that you're trying to explain it to. And there's kind of like a gap that needs to be bridged that we understand most of those situations, but your client necessarily doesn't, or doesn't know how to read a plan for us in some extent, but it's an easy comparison for them to be able to see it physically and actually understand the inside of the space. So OviSquare though, when did you decide that you wanted to take off on your own with this?
I've been having my own projects or setting up companies or working for startups since 2005. So it was just really present, and because I love learning, I've always been keen to touch base all the various departments to understand how you work in finance, but how does it work with marketing and how does it work? And I really wanted to have that big picture. But even before that, I think that it's just that I have that vision on how life and how the world should be, and I just wanted to realize my vision. I think that for me, the success in life is just to having an idea and making it happen. And I wanted to have my vision, what I see of the world existing. And you spoke about storytelling, and I think that my goal, my duty in life is just to make sure that we use technology for the good of humanity. So this is the goal. So it's to change the world, to make sure we use technology for the good of humanity. So that was my first idea, is how I want it to make happen. And it's the reason why I assist corporates, and it's the reason why it's just to make sure that we use technology for the good of humanity. And we need to be really careful with technology. It's just a tool. So it can be used for good or for bad. And I decided I wanted to be an activist to make sure we use technology for the good of humanity. So, and then I realized that one of the best way to assist maybe on making this vision happening was to control the narrative. So the storytelling you spoke just before, to make sure that everyone can have access to stories that would influence them to go in a good direction for humanity. So, for example, having storytelling focus on collaboration instead of war, instead of violence and war, to promote collaborations. And it's a strong idea that I have, that if you control the narrative, you control imagination, or at least you can assist people to develop their imagination in the good direction.
I'm so curious because I love your outlook and just your positivity that you have about your ability to help change. And I'm sure this has brought you to surrounding yourself with a really incredible group of people. Do you think, just within your environment of technology, that you all share those similar goals and passions?
We are all different people, and we bring different things on the table and our personality. So we are a large variety of person. I think that when you're interested in technology, you're also aware of the risk of technology. So this is most of people working at the end of tech knows the risk. Mm-hmm. So this is the first point. What I can see from the closest people with ideas. So I will speak about more people interested in multisensory experiences, because we are a lot of persons working in virtual reality, augmented reality. There's a tiny group of persons really interested in multisensory, and a even tinier group interested in smell and olfactory sense. But in that tiny group, I can really feel that we are lots of women, and it's something that is not said enough. Like the virtual reality and augmented reality that started in the maybe 40s has been hugely influenced by women. At that time, most of the experiences were created by women. Over 60% of the experience in virtual reality were created by women. So it's a woman world. And I said it loud and clear. If you're a woman interested in tech, go for it. Like, don't let your ideas and your imagination thinking that it's for men or for tech or for mathematical geek. If you feel that you have a passion for visual, because it's what it is, it's visual, go for it. And in that tiny space of virtual multisensory person, we tend to be really purpose driven, which is great. Our approach is really more a holistic approach of life and human, and I think that we have that passion, and even more if you set up your own company. Anyway, you need to have the drive and the passion. I think that passion is what drives life. So I'm not a huge believer in talent. I believe just in work. You know, like you're just so passionate that every morning you will just go for your goal just because you have the drive. It's your passion is everything, your will is everything, and then you just need to be persistent enough to go through, to know that you have that dream, and just every day break legs and to make it happen.
And that's part of the reason you're on this conversation with me. And I appreciate you taking the time out of your day, even so early in the morning, too, to be able to make this conversation happen. Because there's a handful of people who will, it'll bring light to new conversations that didn't happen before. And it's really exciting to talk to you, especially just because, well, one, you're incredible, but to begin with a new kind of experience of technology that I haven't actually ever covered in terms of this podcast and kind of what we usually talk about on this web series. And it's a whole new realm that should be introduced into the architecture world a little bit sooner, because it's another niche that I think a lot of people within my own field would feel heavily passionate about as well. Just being able to describe all those multi-sensory talents and abilities to be able to provide that. I think it touches base really well with what we try to handle and do. But to end, I guess I do want to summarize, or I'd like to ask you, is there something that within the next, or if you were to say 25 years from now, what would be your goal to have accomplished? I think it's an incredible question coming from you.
Yes, it's a big one. I have that desire to influence for good. So if a few person start having positive ideas on the future and feel empowered by some of our work, it would be amazing, and it would be a great way to think that I left a positive trace in the world.
Absolutely, a positive spark, really. Well,
So
you can recap on that question if you want.
yes, not that much, but definitely for if you feel you as a person you want to go in a direction, you should definitely go for it, and don't listen too much to other people. And if your crazy is too big, like just go for it. You shouldn't just restrain yourself. You should dream big, have good ambition, and just put the work to make it happen every day, one day after another. Life is long, and it's one step really after the other. But if you have a dream, put it in the sky and aim for it and go for it.
I appreciate
it's the idea.
Now, especially. It makes me want to do a lot of things.
Yes, life is not always easy. It's not easy. It's not for anyone, but just push through one day after the other.
Well, thank you so much for being on this call, Priscilla. I hope that we can talk soon again too. And I guess enjoy the rest of your day now that you have it ahead and you started off on a good foot already. So happy
Yes,
and
yes,
thank
yes. Thank you for your time as well.
yeah.
I enjoy sharing with students. I teach at universities on future skills,
Great.
but everywhere we are, we can always have an influence to someone else.
Mhm.
You know, you learn, you create, and you share.
Yeah, absolutely.
And wherever you are now, you can already teach someone else, and it's amazing, and it's rewarding. So I encourage everyone to just um, look um, look a bit down at someone next to you and bring them up to where you are, and to look up and someone will help you, and it's how it will cycle. The positive cycle will go down. So
Change
um,
appreciation, absolutely.
yeah,
Well, thank you, and thank you for watching another episode of Students Perspective.